Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee, joined by host Danny Morley. And today, our guests are 2024 presidential candidate Rachel Fiori and president and founder of the American Congress Party, Brandon Conceicao. Give it up, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having me.
So, Brandon, you want to kick us off? Tell us a little bit about you and how you became the founder and president of the ACP.
Yeah, I'll give a little quick brief version since we're just starting out here. Yeah, my name is Brandon Conceicao. I'm 27 years old. I founded the American Congress Party back in 2021 after a trip to India, kind of like almost like an awakening experience for me. Kind of seeing the state of the world post-COVID really inspired me to want to make change. And, I had guidance from my gurus, Babaji and Jesus, just showing me the way, really saying, we need to make change in this world. And change isn't just going to happen. You're past the point of just being able to hope that things are going to change. You actually have to take some action. And so with that inspiration and, with their guidance and their blessings, I was able to found the party, kind of clueless on how to do that. But, somehow they showed the way, formed the party, and it's all been unfolding since. And I'm just super grateful to be here and to, to have Rachel running through the American Congress Party as well is just an absolute blessing.
I love what you opened with. Change isn't just going to happen. I would love to dive into that for a moment, because I think that is what a very strong message that, we're here to ignite inside of other people who are awakening for real. Change is not just going to happen. You can't just meditate or pray for it to happen. You have to actually take action, connect to your divine power, and make change happen. You have to transform from within and become powerful enough to take on the things that you don't want to deal with, because you see the evil and the darkness in the world, right? You see what you don't want to see. You see what's happening in our government in this country. And it's like, this is, all the terrible things that we can complain about till the cows come home. What are we doing as individuals and as the collective to actually change the terrible things that we see? So I thank you for bringing that up. It is such a good message to start this podcast episode with. Change isn't just going to happen. We have to make change happen. It's time for us to rise. It's time for us to step up and be what we have been brainwashed to stay away from and keep our hands off. It's time to get in. It's time to get in and do it ourselves.
Yeah. I think we were all silently praying that there would be some solution that came along, because every, 4 years when we have this presidential election, it's okay, let's pick the lesser of two evils. Yes. And I'm starting to realize it's really not the candidates, it's the parties as well. It doesn't really matter which party you're choosing. Both, they're two sides of the same coin. Yes. Their agenda's the same. They only promote divisiveness. They don't talk about the topics that unite people, the things that people are actually concerned about. So really, it was all a matter of, okay, we need to make our own party. And that's what's happening now. So many people are on the same exact page as us, where we're just tired. We actually want practical solutions to everyday problems that we're facing that neither party can seem to get a grasp of, or they do have a grasp of the problem, they just don't want to solve it, type of thing. So that's what the American Congress Party is here to do. And I think more and more people are awakening to the fact that it's time for change, and they're actually willing to take a step outside their comfort zone of Democratic, Republican, and actually vote for people who care about them and about their problems. So,
yeah, beautiful. I love that. And they don't want to solve it. Isn't that the big problem we're here to deal with? Is our government, our Congress doesn't want to solve the problems that all of the American people are suffering. They don't have enough money to live. They're juggling 2, 3, 4 more jobs. They're, our food is being poisoned. We could go on. The laundry list is a long laundry list. And what do we then talk about, when we look at Democratic or Republican Party? I mean, that's part of the problem right there, is the fact that that is set up, on purpose to always have this extreme duality, that separation consciousness, that two sides are always opposing one another. And as long as you still have that energetically, you will never have harmony. You'll never have a united front. You'll never have people working together to actually get into the roots of the real problems, that the crises that we're in this country. And all of that is done by design. The government doesn't want to solve the problems that we, the people, are concerned with. And this is why myself and Brandon and other people that are part of the American Congress Party, we are here to absolutely transform all of it, because quite frankly, enough is enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear a Democratic or Republican candidate go on stage and talk about how in the early 2000s, investors were probably made up 10% of the housing market. And now in the past 4 years, outside investors, not individual people like us, like young people trying to buy homes, now only make up 50% of the market, and investors are up to 50%. They're outbidding, first-time homeowners. And
Yep.
a large portion of this is because they want to create a renter's economy. They want to make sure that people are working their entire lives and not owning any assets, which is
Yes.
an absolute ridiculous statistic, knowing that these large corporations are allowed to just come in here and profit off of hardworking Americans who have already given their life and soul to this country through taxes, through how many wars we've been through. It's just absolutely absurd to know that our candidates, our parties would not even speak on the subject, let alone have a solution to this issue. And that's just the top of the list. If you want to go down the rabbit hole of food and how they're just allowing for poisonous food to be spread out through our entire society, which has been linked to so many issues in the youth, and chronic illness is on a rise like it's never been before. We think that ADD just spawned out of nowhere, but there's so much research showing the link in how much sugar in young children's food is linked to their inability to focus, and all of these other things we're just throwing into the food is just really messing with the young minds and the older minds. And by the time we realize, it's too late, because we end up with cancer or we end up with some diagnosis. And the only solution, of course, is the pharmaceutical industry, when it doesn't seem as though the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry are working together to make this happen.
Yep.
So when you go to the store, it's crazy. One thing that you can just tell people right away that will make them kind of be like, is when you say, when you go to the store, why is there an organic versus a non-organic option? Why is there a poison food option and a non-poison food option? Why can't we just have non-poison food? And why is one more expensive than the other? If you go and do some research on Russia, all GMO foods and chemicalized foods are banned there. They don't allow stuff like that in Russia. And it's like, okay, well, in America, we allow it. If you look at the ingredient labels in America and you compare them to other countries like Europe, the regulations here are so much looser. So many of the things are banned. Europe, Australia, they don't allow these things into their food. And yet America's freely allowing this into our food. It doesn't make sense, because we're supposed to be the freest country on this planet. And yet if you speak up about these things, somehow you're silenced and somehow you're the problem. And the illusion of America right now is that you are living in a free country, but you're a slave to the system. And that system is not promoting freedom in any way. And don't get me wrong, I love this country and I love what it could be if we work on it and actually show it the love that it needs and the attention that it needs.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Danny has something to say.
Yeah, as somebody who was born in the UK and now lives in the US, I was shocked when I came over here to live about 10 years ago, and I did a year at college in Maryland, and the food that I was being served, like, it was delicious, but I left with all these skin issues and all these gut issues after a year of eating the food. And it's exactly what you said, Brandon. Like, I thought this was supposed to be America, but everyone is the greatest country in the world. And in my heart, there's a part of me that like really believes that. And it's because of people like yourself and Rachel who are paving this new way forward. But the way how much poisoning is happening in the country to the everyday people, and how unaware, and the wild part is a lot of people just don't even care. A lot of people are really waking up, which is amazing, and then some people are very aware of the fact that they're being poisoned and they don't even care. Why is that? And Rachel, maybe you can shed a light on that.
That's twofold. The answer to that, there's two parts to that. It's number one, people are apathetic because they're so hard pressed in their everyday lives, struggling to just survive. Nobody can thrive in this country anymore because of what it's been turned into because of the powers that be. They are so struggling to just make ends meet, just to barely survive, that they can't even, they don't have the energy. They can't think about, oh my God, now I have to grow my own food. Like, you've got to be kidding me. That's impossible. So it's put people into such an extreme form of suffering where they can barely survive. Because if you're in survival mode, things like food that has no poison in it, that seems now like a luxury that you're not going to reach for, so you don't even bother because you're overwhelmed. Okay. And going, the second part is the brainwashing, that is all the propaganda, all the brainwashing that has been happening for decades and decades to get us to a point where we don't question anything. It just is what it is. That's all. So there's a long-term strategy that has been implemented in this country for decades. And then there's your short term to trigger people into fear, and so that you can be controlled because you're in fear. We saw that with the pandemic. Part of what Brandon mentioned when he was talking about the food, minds that can't focus, all the sugar, all the chemicals, all the dyes, all the poisons that are in our everyday food. When young minds can no longer develop into minds that can critically think outside the box, what happens? You're automatically entrained into a human being that cannot critically think. You're just brainwashed to stay inside of the little box that our country puts you in. And so you won't question government. You won't question the rules. You won't question the laws. You won't question authority because you can't even think of a better solution. You can't even think long enough to focus on what's in front of you. You that are on social media with all your quick dopamine hits constantly, trying to feel better about your life every single day, that's the hamster wheel of suffering that is very orchestrated in this country. So people will then feel powerless, hopeless, and like they can't do anything to change anything. I'm just one person. That right there is the orchestrated trap. That is a mental trap that people are thrown into, and it is done by design. What we have to do is just pause, stop, take a breath, and learn how to connect to our own internal divine power. Healing ourselves as individuals is number one priority. And I mean that literally, because the more powerful you become as an individual, you start to realize how powerful you are as just one individual. One individual can move mountains. Imagine what millions of us together can move.
So well said. And honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that people just don't have the time, energy, or ability to even think about what's going on. There's no time for critical
Yep.
thinking when you live in America where everything's so fast paced. You have to be doing this. If you're not earning money, if you're not doing this, then you can't pay the bills. If you can't pay the bills, then how are you going to live? And it's just an endless stream of, bombardment. So I think what the government should be focusing on is giving people that freedom to actually breathe and to
Yes.
express themselves, to learn that they are unique individuals and they have so much to offer this world. But if we look at the depression rates in this country, they're at an all-time high. I think it's
Yes.
somewhere around 70% of people at the age of or 70% of adults in the US are on a prescription psych medication, where they're taking this med to just get through day by day. And honestly, I can't blame them because it's tough. It's tough to be in the it's tough to be in this world right now where it seems like every day is a struggle. And, I'm lucky enough to have found, the teachings that I have found and to have the guides that I have to show me how to, experience joy in an otherwise kind of like gloomy world, and to shape my mind the way I want to shape it. It's just because I chose a different path, though. Had I gone down that normal 9 to 5 path and had to, be working like a full-time job that's in the corporate world, it would be different for me probably. And, I don't put shame on anyone that has gone down that route. It's just that the world, the way the government set this up right now is that you just can't think outside of your struggles. The stress is at an all-time high right now, and that's how they keep you encased. And instead of instead of providing the financial aid in this country that we need, in providing fair salaries, all we do is continue to print money, right? I think 40% of the US currency has been printed in the last 5 years alone, which is absolutely absurd. 40%
Insane.
of the currency in circulation has been printed in just the last 4 or 5 years. Absurd. They just printed literally 40%. Where does all that money go? Because I don't see it in my pocket. I don't see it coming to the everyday American's pocket. All it does is give them an excuse to raise the prices on things. It forces households to have both partners working, slaving their lives away just to be able to afford rent now, because you can't outbid investors in buying a home because they have all the money. So it's just like this endless cycle. But then I go and read the news articles today, and it says that the House has approved 61 billion in weapons aid or military aid for Ukraine. And they've pledged 400 billion to rebuild Ukraine. And we send hundreds of millions to Israel. And it just doesn't make sense financially that we have homeless people in just about every major city, a homeless crisis in every major city. And yet we can't take care of that problem. Yet
the money we put towards that problem, like in the state of California, billions upon billions of dollars disappeared. We can't account for it. That's the latest in California, by the way. Billions of dollars unaccounted for that we put towards the homeless crisis in just this state. So that just goes to what you're saying.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Where's the money?
Yeah, the fiscal responsibility of our government is just gone out the window, and it all goes back to the Federal Reserve System that we have in place. I offer anybody, watching this to just do a quick Google search. Is the Federal Reserve privately or publicly owned? Because when you hear the word federal, automatically you think it's governmental system. It's owned by the government. No, that's an illusion they put. They just named it the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is privately owned. A quick Google search will prove that. And if you want to really know about our money system, just go and read, I think it's called Jekyll and Hyde. I forget the name of the actual book, or just watch a few videos on how the Federal Reserve works. And it's honestly just a way to print money. It loans it to the federal government. It's a private institution. Our government is in debt to the Federal Reserve. That's why JFK wanted to end the Federal Reserve and go back to the gold standard. We need our currency to mean something. Right now, our currency means nothing because it's not tied to anything of value. So let's say the United States continues on this, path of a downward slope. We're not going to be a nation anymore that's looked at as by the world as like this amazing nation. We had this reputation of being this great, innovative country, the land of freedom. And right now, it's almost like we're becoming a joke. We're imploding from within. So if we don't make changes soon and actually bring value back into our nation by investing in our own people and fixing the systems we have in place, then, it wouldn't surprise me that, America is no longer the country that people, once looked at it to be.
And I think we've already reached that point and gone beyond it, to be perfectly honest. I think it's the Americans that are slow to catch up to that reality. Truly, like I think because the illusions that are put here, it's like we still a lot of people in this country still live in the illusion just because they've been told we're the greatest country. We're not. We are laughed at by a lot of other countries. And I do feel that more people that are spiritually awakening, and I mean globally, I think there are people that have a lot of compassion for what we're going through right now. because they see through the illusions of everything and how this has all been orchestrated and the type of enslavement we live in. They tell you this is the land of the free when we're one of the most enslaved countries that exists on the planet right now. But this country keeps telling you it's the land of the free. Why? Because they tell you it is. Like, we have to wake up and not just blindly trust what people tell us. I mean, going back to a couple of things Brandon mentioned, the when I want to not say government too many times because this always my stuff always gets banned.
Okay.
I'll put this out.
I'll keep that word. I'll try to stop saying that.
No, it's okay because what else do we say, right? But I'm going to just say things like the powers that be or the people that run this country. And I'm just explaining to those that are listening, I am going to be better about not saying that G word, the GOV, because I get banned a lot with the content I put out. So when you think about how the powers that be run this country and piggybacking off of some of what Brandon was sharing, we just print money, and the money that we send to, people that are committing genocide and slaughter, and we contribute to keeping war alive, like that's a positive thing. When our country is doing that and contributing to these things, and then turning around and taxing to such insane levels the common people to makes it even harder for you to live and survive and afford anything, right? And if you make a mistake on your taxes, that you have to pay other people to figure out what you owe, because the powers that be, the IRS, doesn't even tell you what you owe. You have to go pay somebody to figure that out, and then you have to pay it. And if you make a mistake, they come after you. Where the Pentagon for 6 straight years has failed its audit. 6 straight years, the Pentagon has failed its audit. Now, if I failed an audit for 6 straight years in a row, you better goddamn believe that I would have been put in fucking prison. And the people in charge, our own government, fails its own audit. And what are the consequences? What are the repercussions of that? We live in such a hypocrisy with the way this system is set up in this country that I can do whatever I want because I have these positions of power. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how much I steal. It doesn't matter how much money goes missing. It doesn't matter that we print everything and there's no gold standard to make our currency valuable or worth anything, really. And we're just hoping nobody catches on to that fact. This is how we are running this country. And people want to ask, Rachel, why would you run for president? Because I'm fucking sick of everything. And who else is going to go infiltrate from the inside out and change everything to meet and require and demand that the people that run this country have to elevate to be good human beings instead of the crazy psychopaths that are running this country right now. That is why I am running for president and why I said yes to being asked to take on this mission, because it is a big mission. And I'm not going to do it alone. I'm taking you all with me. So y'all better get ready to connect to your power and rise, because we're going to transform this entire country together in oneness the way it's meant to be. We, the people, have the goddamn power. And I hope you all wake up to the fact that you do. Stop running away from politics. Take the political stance that we have. What you see in our government and in our country right now, we have to replace the people in power with people who are willing to be better, do better, who are better human beings. That is what we're here to do. That's what the American Congress Party is here to do. And that's what I intend to do. But we need you to vote, and we need you to make sure that we get put in power so that we can make these kind of changes.
Amazing. Speechless. Fantastic. Yeah. So well said, because it goes back to what I said in the intro. We have to take action, and everybody feels like so disempowered at this point, thinking that the government isn't ours. We own the government. Yes. We're the owners of this. Like, we own this country. That as the citizens living here, we're the ones who own it. We're the ones who fund it, all of it. Right. So yeah, we should feel empowered. We should feel like we have a say, but obviously the way the media works, the way the system works, is they lead you to believe that there's only, a handful of candidates, and of these handful, only a few of them get to appear on TV. So you only hear about the few that they want you to hear about. But
Exactly.
now with social media, now with the way the world works, we can get the message out there as long as people are willing to, again, take action and stop sitting by idly. Now's the time. We have to do it, for the
Have to do
nation
it.
that we love, for the future that we want to see, all of that. It's in our hands. Absolutely. So well said, Rachel.
Yeah, beautiful. I'd love for you all to dive into what does the ACP stand for? I think a lot of people out there who've never heard of the American Congress Party. What is it that makes you different from what exists?
So our main motto right now is free food, free education, and free medication for all. And on the surface, a lot of people give a little bit of pushback to that, saying, I already pay enough taxes. I don't want to live in a country where I have to pay more taxes to have free food, free education for people that don't work, or free medication for people that don't work. That's not this at all. And the reason why is because if we just take a look at how we financially spend our money in this country, we have more than enough to afford free food for everybody, to make sure no person, no child, no human being ever has to go hungry again, and chemical-free food. No poison in this food, actual real food. There's no reason why we can't afford that and reduce taxes at the same time. So if we just look at the system and how it's broken, if you look at, Bayer, for example, Bayer's this big pharmaceutical company that also produces this chemical called Roundup, right? And Roundup's key active ingredient in it is called glyphosate. And what they do with this chemical Roundup, it's a weed killer, and they spray it all over our food, all across the United States. They spray it in the wheat fields before they even harvest the food. They'll go and drop it all over the food just to dry it out, just to make it easier to crop, to make it easier to harvest. So this food is this chemical glyphosate is just ingrained in all our food. And it's absolutely absurd to even think that a government would be willing to do this. And guess what? The same company that produces this Roundup is also the same company that produces our pharmaceuticals. So if you're sick from, eating this awful food, you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get prescribed a medication from this same exact company. And conflict of interest is at an all-time high right here, because if you're poisoning the food and then you're creating the medications that don't even cure you, that just really treat mask symptoms, then that's a huge issue. And you can easily avoid that. And food is a natural right. We're human beings. We were put onto this planet. This Mother Nature provides everything we need as human beings. To say that we should be able to monetize food the way we have and to, corporatize it is an absolute absurdity, because I don't know any animal in the kingdom that is going out to buy food, right? Mother Nature provides everything for us.
Absolutely.
So there's the free medication, there's the free food, and free education. What I mean by free education is, we have a public school system, but it's so shattered and broken. They're teaching you how to be automated robots, essentially. They're teaching you how to sit in a chair for 6 hours a day, be silent, not complain, not express yourself, not ask questions. Growing up in the school system, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to private schools, which is a little bit better than public schools, but still, it's not much different when you ask a question and you're kind of like, the teacher's annoyed by you for asking so many questions. It's like, you should be curious as a kid. And I was curious as a kid, but then it made me go inward and feel like there's something wrong with me. Maybe I shouldn't ask questions. Something's wrong with me if I'm asking all these questions and nobody else in this classroom's asking questions. What's wrong with me? And then you go down this whole self-doubt thing, which is exactly what you want, what they want. Because once you start doubting yourself, you're depressed, and guess what you need? You need medication at that point. And you know what? If we didn't have that whole system in place for people to doubt themselves, just imagine the wonders, the absolute wonders we could create in this world if people were actually expressing their true desires, expressing their true uniqueness in this world. Because if you go out into the world right now, we just have clones everywhere. Everybody's a walking clone. Everybody's like, what I could have been? I think there was this amazing survey back in the day, or I don't know the full quote, but it's like, most people on their deathbed, it's not complaining about the things that they did do. It's about the things that they didn't do. That's their biggest regret in life, is the things they didn't do. So the system is kind of set up for us to be on our dying days, looking back at our lives and wishing, wondering what we could have actually done. And again, that's why I formed the American Congress Party. There's no way I was going to go onto my deathbed knowing, I could have done something. And there's so many Americans at this point right now that are thinking, I want to do something, but what can I do? And the American Congress Party is here to unite those people. And, those values may be hard to digest for some, but if you really think about it, they're just rights to everyday people. If you want to change this world, you have to think big. You can't think small. We're in such a deep hole as an American people that the solutions may seem a little bit drastic, but you have to think big because our problems are massively bigger. And the consequences will be so much worse if we don't take drastic action now.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And we have to understand the level of conditioning and the brainwashing that has gone on for decades. And that means when thinking big, you cannot resort to expecting or hoping that your oppressors are going to actually stop oppressing you. You cannot just hope your abuser is going to stop abusing you. If you are in a romantic relationship with a narcissist, with a narcissistic abuser, and you know anything about what it means to be a narcissistic abuser, you can't reason with, that person doesn't have a rationale that says, oh my gosh, I'm harming you, I'm hurting you. See, I benefit from harming and hurting you. That's why I'm the narcissistic abuser. We are in a relationship with a narcissistic abuser. That's our government and us. That's the kind of relationship that we are in. You cannot ask the powers that be, the narcissistic abusers, to say, oh my gosh, your school systems are indoctrination because you just want workers to make you more money, to make the billionaires even richer, the rich richer. Our food is filled with poison so that we all get sick and have problems and then make the rich even richer because the solution are pharmaceuticals instead of what real medicine actually is. And when you live in a system like this, you cannot then say to the people that are doing that to you, hey, oh my gosh, I'm waking up a little bit. Could you stop doing that? It'd be so much nicer if I could thrive instead of barely survive. They're not going to change. This is what I want to hit home to people. They are not going to stop doing this to you. They benefit from it. They don't care about you. This is dehumanization. This is what a patriarchal society is. It is a society that enslaves everyone, but they trick one group of people, the men, to become monsters so that they can make sure they oppress women more so that nobody thrives in this country. Do you understand? And they are not going to change. You cannot have the two main people that they put in front of your faces on media and say, vote for one of these clowns. You cannot be this level of ignorant thinking they're part of the system. They're part of keeping the system in place, but making it look like they're going to change things. So instead of being in that low level of consciousness, that brainwashed person who you don't think you are, but brainwashed people don't think they're brainwashed. Hello, that's why brainwashing works. You cannot keep voting for the same system to continue, hoping that those abusers will stop abusing you. That's what has to change, which means we have to change. We can't expect people that have created the system, that keep the system in place, but tell you they're going to be different. Why are you still believing that the main people they put in your face all the time, the media who puts the main people in your face, those main people are part of the system that enslaves you. You have to wake up to that. You have to wake up to that for real. And you have to start looking for solutions outside of that. Solutions outside of that are people who are willing to transform everything and create an entirely new system, because that's what needs to happen. You can't rely on the old. Our system literally creates all the problems, and then they pretend to have the solutions. That's the example of poisoning your food, making you sick, and then relying on pharmaceuticals. Guess what? The billionaires get richer because they are the problem and the so-called solution. And the solution isn't really a solution. It's a solution to fill their pockets. It is their solution so that they become wealthier. We suffer, right? So we have to wake up to that And we have to be willing to say, no more. No more. I'm not going to tolerate this. There's a zero tolerance policy that I am going to put in place. And I, meaning Rachel, I, meaning the American Congress Party, I, meaning all of the American people, we together have to say, no more, zero tolerance for all of this. Let's rise up and be the people that are going to make change happen. That means we have to fill the government and take the positions of power away from people who are there currently and fill them with people who are willing to do things completely out of the box and differently.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And if you're at home right now wondering how you're going to fit into this picture, right now, go and make sure you're following Rachel on every platform, supporting her, liking her posts, sharing them with everybody. Go follow the American Congress Party on all social platforms and send it to a few people that you know would be interested. Like, do your part. Doesn't have to be nearly as big as forming a political party or running for president. Really sharing is huge. That's the biggest part, and just spreading the awareness. So if you have the time, pause it right now and go and do so. Go share it with a few people. I think that is huge. So underestimated underestimated in just spreading the message. So we need help. So yeah.
It's a big vision, and I absolutely love it. And I love that you came, you came to Rachel with this vision, and now the most important thing, as you said, is like execution. Actually, taking steps and being action. One thing that I'll take away from this podcast is hope's beautiful, but it's not enough if it's not paired with action. And we have to do that. So yeah, I'd love to know, Brandon, like, what are your kind of like your action steps moving forward? What's like the next steps for you and your vision with this party?
Contest as many elections as possible. So we're fortunate enough to have, a few people running for Congress. We have Rachel running for president, but we need more people to step up and to actually start contesting the election so we can spread the awareness of the American Congress Party to the everyday person. Because we know media is at some point going to try to stop us. Even social media, as powerful as it is and as great a tool it is to get your message out there, at some point they will throttle us. So yeah, we want to get the message out there. We even created our own social media platform to make sure that when that day does come and they do try to silence the American Congress Party or silence Rachel as a presidential candidate, or silence anybody running with the American Congress Party, or anybody running for any party that's just speaking the truth. And we created our own social media platform called Amara, just to make sure that wouldn't happen. And we want a world where you can tell the truth and not be banned. So the fact that you can go on to a social platform and be banned for talking about food or just using the word government, that to me is not, it's like, I don't even know how that's possible. I don't understand. I do understand how people tolerate it because of the programming, but at the end of the day, you should be able to express yourself as a human being and not think that freedom of speech has to be hate speech. Freedom of speech means just to express yourself and not be worried about getting banned because you're telling people about glyphosate, or you're talking about the Federal Reserve, or you're just giving ideas to people that have never existed before. So I think that that's the two main things, is finding more political candidates moving forward to get the message out there, and just getting the message out there via social media and our new social platform as well. So that's the two biggest things moving forward for us. The future is bright. I have nothing but absolute conviction that this is the way of the future, and that people are just going to slowly start turning over. It's just a matter of getting the message out there, because at the end of the day, our generation has just known nothing but just absolute criminality by the powers that be, absolute criminality. And we're at the point where we're being suffocated so much that it just seems like life can be hopeless, for a lot of people. And they need that feeling of like, I need something in my life that brings me joy. And right now it's just, they're taking everything. Just the thought of like, at one point you were able to hope to have like a starter home and then a bigger home, right? And to jump up assets as your pay increases. Well, it's like, Well, your starter home is your ending home right now, if you're
Yeah,
lucky enough to get a starting home, and that's if you
exactly.
have 2 people working full time making $70K a year. Like, that's
Yeah.
it's just, and then if you live in a state like California, like you guys live in, where the taxes are just
Oh,
absurd, absolutely absurd. It makes it almost impossible to even dream to do something beyond just being able to afford rent. So I see a bright future where we have actual people rising up, and we have regulations in place for people to be able to afford homes, and to be able to use money the way it's meant to be used, as a tool and not as a absolute god to worship type of thing, or idolize
exactly.
after, or to run after. Money is just a tool, and our country, our systems, our the powers that be have made it into a god that we're supposed to worship. And
Yep.
it's the biggest criminal act that's happened to humanity, because people forget their humanity the second they start worshiping money. And
Yep.
it just has to be, it all has to be reversed. It all has to be undone. And we need to build an actual country and a system that we're actually proud of, and that we feel happy within. I don't think
That we're
anyone's happy these
excited to
days.
be a part of.
Yeah.
You're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah. Nobody's excited anymore. The joy has left everybody these days. It's like you go
Mhm.
down the street and everybody's just angry, and
Yeah.
they're in their everybody's in their absolute own world of just stress, fear, anxiety. And to think that the only way out of that is like medication and just working, it's sad. It's so depressing. It's such a
Yeah.
depressing way to look at the world. And I wouldn't want to stand for a future like that. So anybody that's listening and doesn't want a future like that, vote American Congress Party. Do your
Yeah.
role. Spread the message.
Spread the message. Spread the message. Donate, by the way. Donate,
Yes.
because we don't make the rules yet. You know, not yet. I can't change rules, and if you don't help me get in to a position of power, and we have to do that together, you know. Help me help you. You know, I keep saying that lately, like, help me to help you,
Yeah.
because if you help me, I can then make change, and I can help you. And I have a lot of solutions and strategies and plans in order to make that happen. I don't want to waste time on those in this particular episode. But you can go to rachelfiori24.com, and you can look at some of my policies and programs that I am ready to enact and implement once I'm in there. But support the American Congress Party. It seems, this is part of the conditioning. It might seem too simple or silly or not enough to share, and yet that is one of the biggest, you know, strategies that creates a movement right now. Stitch, share, spread the word, send this out to people, send them to the website, go to the website and go to the donation and donate $10 if that's all you can donate, but donate the $10 so that we can make a bigger movement moving forward. We have to come together when it comes to this, and not just hope that one or two people or this one party that's growing right now is going to do it for us. We have to get out of that childlike mentality that someone is here to save us. We have the power. We are our own saviors. We just have to unite together and do the damn saving. Like, we are that, but we have to unite together to do it together in order to create this enlightened future that I'm here to help create for everybody, not just in this country, but globally. Imagine what the rest of the world will look like if we achieve what we're here to achieve in this country alone. I mean, imagine, that's a ripple effect that will just ripple out to a lot of other countries when they see the devastation, the crisis, the existential crisis that we are currently in this country. We can change that drastically in a short period of time if we unite together in oneness and just do it, make it happen. Imagine the level of inspiration that that will create for other people globally, other countries globally who may be struggling with a lot of the same issues with the powers that be in their countries. This is a revolution, and it isn't a revolution that inspires, you know, violence. It's a spiritual revolution to wake up, become powerful, become enlightened, connect together in oneness, and absolutely take over and do things completely drastically differently. And if that triggers anybody, you've been brainwashed to fear change. You've been brainwashed in powerlessness to fear change. So, oh, I'll just keep relying on the two parties that I know because that's what I'm comfortable with. That's like being in that abusive relationship and you're too afraid to leave because that's where you're comfortable, because you fear the unknown. And yet the unknown is where all of the possibilities to be healed, to be whole, to be powerful, to thrive, to function in oneness. That's the unknown, is where those potentialities, those possibilities exist. You have to enter into something new and unknown in order to have it be different. And that I want to hit home. So you have to face your fears, heal them, alchemize them, get the counseling, the coaching, the everything you need to go in and realize, how can I alchemize that within me that activates fear, powerlessness, insecurity, thinking I'm too small to make a difference? You have to be willing to heal that within yourself, unite together in oneness with people who are powerful, that already know how to do that and are here to make massive change happen. We can change this whole world. We just have to unite together in oneness to do it.
And let us help you do that. If the American Congress Party and its candidates are put into power, we'll give you the freedom to be able to do that. You won't have to worry about how you're
Yes.
going to be able to afford your next bills or worry about this. You're going to be given the freedom to express yourself. You're going to be given that time and that space to be able to actually make real decisions for yourself that aren't out of fear, out of worry, and out of anxiety. Because right now, it's hard to have that because you're either doing it before work, right? You got to work your 8 hours. Sometimes you got a 2-hour commute, total 1 hour one way, 1 hour the other way.
Yeah.
And you got kids, maybe you got something going on where it's just like you don't have enough you time. Well, once the government systems in place are able to kind of take that chokehold off of people, it's amazing what we'll be able to do. Absolutely amazing what we'll be able to do and how quickly we'll thrive. Same with nature. One thing I forgot to mention is the American Congress Party stands by nature 100%. Mother Nature is the ultimate giver on this planet, the absolute supreme mother, and she gives everything we could ever ask for, and yet we decide to continually destroy her. Continually, just the Roundup alone destroys her as well. The chemicals we use, the emissions we're putting out on this planet, the way our systems are put in place is absolutely choking nature in every way possible. And through the nuclear wars we're threatening, through the bombs we're dropping on this planet, it's absolutely absurd to see how far we've fallen from our own true selves to just destroy the one true God right below our feet. Everybody will look to the sky and pray to God, but they'll never look to the God right below their feet that actually gave birth to this entire body and to this entire ecosystem. There's trillions of cells within your one body, so much unique DNA going on inside of you. And all of it came from Mother Earth. The food you eat literally translates into this incredible mechanism, this divine intelligence that's going on inside of you. And somehow we've just become so disconnected that we can't realize that it literally is Mother Nature that gave birth to this entire body. Jesus walked upon this planet, right? At one point, he walked upon this planet. Even Mother Nature created Jesus's body. Even Mother Nature was there. There was divine intelligence by Mother Nature. So it's just not just Jesus, Krishna, all of these gods, right? All of these prophets and divine people that have come to this planet, Buddha, whatever. All of them had bodies given to them by Mother Nature. So it's important that we restore our relationship with Mother Nature and make sure that we're not doing anything to harm her. Because if we saw during COVID what happened when we kind of took the chokehold off of Mother Nature, where everything was shut down, how much beauty was restored to this planet and how quickly it could happen.
How quickly. It's
the same thing with human beings. If we take the chokehold off of human beings, just the joy of life comes back so quickly. And it's a wonderful thought. And we're going to make this happen for the whole planet, for America, for this whole planet. It has to happen. There's no choice. It has to happen.
Yeah, we're at that pivotal point. Beautifully said, Brandon. I applaud you. Beautifully said. And it's no longer functioning in that separation consciousness of Mother Nature is outside of me or nature's over there. You are nature. That's what you are. You are an aspect of nature. You're one piece of the whole divine picture. And that's what we have to wake up to and start to implement and put back in our practices. I love how Brandon says taking the chokehold off of the American people so that you can actually breathe, have some spaciousness to begin to thrive and be creative in your lives and live life in a very different way than trapped in the suffering of just survival mode, being overwhelmed, being sick, being, fatigued and exhausted and barely able to get through the day. What do you have to live for? I mean, we've taken that away in this country. Like, what do we have to live for? And we wonder why the depression rates and the anxiety rates and the suicide rates are skyrocketing in certain groups of people. Of course they are. And then you're part of a system that has been orchestrated to trap you in the system of then going into the sick care system and putting you on pharmaceuticals. And that's the solution, except it's not a solution at all because it doesn't actually heal anything. Our medical system isn't trained to heal anything. They're trained to mask symptoms because the pharmaceutical companies own the damn medical schools and fund the medical schools. They're not getting real medicine and education in what real medicine actually is. Part of the brainwashing is for people to think that holistic medicine is some far-fetched woo-woo witchcraft bullshit. That's actual medicine. The pharmaceuticals, that's the fake medicine. You know that a lot of those companies study holistic methods, what nature does to heal and regenerate itself, and then it just gives a fake version of that so they can make money off of you through the vaccine or the medication or the prescription that they sent, like they prescribe to you. Wake up to what the system is, people.
If anybody doesn't know the history of actually how the modern medicine has come into place, just do some quick research on the Rockefeller family, John D. Rockefeller. Back in the early 1900s, he had the oil monopoly going on, right? They wanted to shut down his oil monopoly, so he's like, all right, you know what? I need to expand. He goes out into, he has one of his prospects do this thing where he goes all across the country, creates this thing called the Flexner Report, where he studies all of the the medical system across the entire United States, and he comes up with his own system for education around medication, and he creates his own versions of medication using petrol, which is his industry. His industry is petrol, so he creates petrochemical versions of medication, which is now known as modern medicine, where you take a pill, and that's what they're made from. And so he would study, just like you said, he would study the compounds in actual real plants. The only problem was he did not want to use the real plants because you cannot patent that and make money off of that. So he created synthetic versions of these, holistic plants that were actually curing, created a version that was actually not as good, but was a petrol version that he could make himself and sell himself and patent. And then he offered funding to all of these schools that were willing to adopt his medication and education system. And then guess what? John D. Rockefeller also owned the print press at the time, which was the media at the time, and spread propaganda saying that holistic medicine is terrible for you. It's really bad for you. He got all of these naturopaths shut down. He spent all of this stuff saying it's woo-ha, it's not real medicine, it's not real practice, you need to be doing this. And of course, wherever the money goes, so does the attention and so does the time. And so with time, his medications took over. He realized, oh no, these are causing cancer though. So over time, he realized his medications, his petrochemicals were causing cancer. And so he had to cover it up. And guess what? When you own the media, you own the medical system, and you own the pharmaceutical industry, it's so easy to just create your own story and create your own narrative. So he'll blame it on everything but the actual problem going on. And guess what? It worked, because our society, our cancer rates are higher than they've ever been. Our diabetes rates are higher. We're sicker than we've ever been. We have the highest spend on healthcare out of every nation.
And are the people.
And we're the sickest ones. And you think, oh, it's the United States of America, we have the best healthcare in the world. No, we have the best sick care in the world. And we have the best system for keeping us just healthy enough to function, just functional enough, but to make sure that we die spending all of our money on healthcare instead of on things that we actually want and care for. So yeah, holistic medicine has to come back. We have to rely on Mother Nature. She provides the plant, she provides the healing, she provides the solutions for everything. And here we are spraying Roundup all over it just because petrochemicals are the dominant thing, because some guy back in the early 1900s decided that, nope, I need to make more money off of people. And yeah, that's the system we're in. And it's that simple. It's really, honestly, it's a elaborate plan he had. It's incredibly elaborate, but it is that simple. That is what happened. Just go do the simplest research. Even if you tell somebody, what happens is the calcification of the brain over time makes it hard for somebody to even process information like that, because their ability to just actually care about something that like that has left because of the chokehold, because of all the chemicals. Your brain is not open to hearing something like that, but it literally is flat out the truth.
Yes.
There's no flaw in that. There's nothing to prove that otherwise. History shows it. Slightest Google search will show everything that I just said is there. It's in place. There's no debating it. And we need to change it. It has to change. We have the power to change it. We can't live in a world and thrive and actually be happy if this system is still in place. It just can't be here anymore. It has to go. It has to go.
Exactly. The system has to go. The entire system has to go. And this is where I come back to reiterating what I'm saying. We cannot rely on the system in place, just putting different people in there. You have to put people and vote people in who are willing to change the entire system. Like, the whole system has to be transformed. We cannot rely on the current system as it is and just have a different person in there claiming that they put in front of you in the media, like you're stupid enough to buy it. And I hope you're not. That's all your options are. All of that is orchestrated. So we have to be willing to have more people join the American Congress Party who hear this and feel really inspired. Like, I want to be a part of this change too. You do not have to have all of the answers. You don't. You just have to be willing to take action with us, to unite together with us. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to elevate. You have to be willing to heal yourself. And you have to be willing to take the action needed and bring other people in so that we can actually go in and change this system as we see it. It cannot continue as it is, because it is the demise of this country. It is the demise of humans, period. You know, how can we continue to have the level of mental illness, the level of violence in this country, the level of hate, the level of misogyny that keeps going, the rights that continue to be taken away right in front of our very eyes, like this is the 1800s and prior? It's insane what is happening right now. And people are so hopeless and so removed from it that they just watch it all happen without doing anything, right? Or wanting to do something, but how do you know what to do? That's what we're here for. We are making the change, and we invite you to join us. We are looking for people to join the American Congress Party, to join us in making all of this happen. This really is the revolution, and the time is right now. It isn't next month. It isn't in 5 years. We don't have enough time left to make this all happen. We're running out of time. This country, if they keep taking more rights away, the level of enslavement, we won't be able to do anything. We won't be able to rise. They're taking away social media from us so that we can't even collectively join together anymore, right? Think about that. And the banning and the removing of videos and the blocking of this keeps getting worse. How are we going to communicate to even come together in the future? Number one, join Amara. As soon as it's released and ready, follow it so that you can join that social media platform. Not going to ban people on there. That's number one, just as a long-term plan for that, as they remove our ability to communicate with one another. We don't have freedom of speech in this country, for crying out loud. In the land of the free. Isn't that ironic? We don't have it, and we need to get it back. And having freedom of speech doesn't mean hate speech and violence and showing up like cavemen on social media. It's about starting a spiritual revolution of transformation so we can elevate, we can all thrive. Everybody can win, for the love of Christ. We don't have to live in this patriarchal domination society that you've been brainwashed to believe is good for you, and it does nothing but destroy men, women, and children. We don't have to tolerate it anymore. We all can support one another. Everyone can thrive. There is nothing but abundance in the universe. There's nothing but abundance. And the only thing that you may be experiencing as an abundance of scarcity is because of the system we have in place. Everybody can thrive, but that's never going to happen if you sit brainwashed by your religions thinking God is out there, pray to some man in the fucking sky. That shit's got to go. That you're a child and you're powerless and you have nothing you can do. Connect to your divine power and make change happen. And do it with grace, and do it with the way of honoring, and do it with the way of unconditional love, and the way of harmlessness and gentleness, etc. Find the universal ways of oneness and become those vibrational frequencies, because that's what will heal you in every aspect of your life. That's what will heal this planet. That's what will heal this country. And we can do it very quickly. We can do it very quickly. I think we could change and transform everything in a matter of a decade or less, but we have to do it now. Don't make excuses to not get involved. Everybody, this planet, humans, nature, animals, everybody needs us to come together. So I hope this inspires you enough to take action and do your part and realize you are only part of the problem or part of the solution. That's it. That's what we're left with right now. Being neutral means you're part of the problem. Doing nothing means you're part of the problem. Watching other people and seeing how they fare. Let's see how they do. If they do, you're part of the problem. And if you are part of the problem, sit down, shut the fuck up, because you don't get a say. We are done with people who are part of the problem. We are looking for people who are willing to be part of the solution and willing to take action right now. You're only one or the other, part of the problem, part of the solution. We invite you to be part of the solution.
Amazing. And on a closing note, I want to share a vision of what the world could be in the very near future. Imagine
yes.
being able to work on one income. If you want both people working in your household, no problem. But imagine being able to afford life on one income, having the healthcare you need without being fearful of the bills and worrying about that, being able to eat real food, enjoy real food, not having to worry about how you're going to afford all of it and pay for all of it, and being able to buy a house and have that family or whatever your vision is, just to be able to afford life right now, just to be able to live and not have to live for money, to have money work for you and to be able to actually enjoy life, to be able to breathe, to be able to take in each moment and actually see that life is happening around you, life is happening within you. And if you vote American Congress Party, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I want you to just take a quick look at your life right now, see what it's like. And if it's not where you want it to be, and you want it to be where I just mentioned, where you can afford life again and actually start to thrive and actually start to live and not have to worry about medical bills, not have to worry about rent and all of these things, and trying to buy your own property and being outbid by investors that are just putting up absurd amount of money. Take a moment, take a deep breath, realize that the people in power right now are not serving this mission for you. If they were, then things would be getting better. They would be becoming more affordable. But if you look at the trend over time, it's only gotten worse. It's time to make a stand right now. Do your part, share the message about American Congress Party, vote for Rachel, vote for all of the people that are running the American Congress Party. And if you feel so motivated that you want to stand up, it doesn't matter if you're a PhD from Harvard or if you're just an everyday person and you want to run for the American Congress Party, run, make the stand, reach out to us. You have our contact information, spread the message. It's here. The time is now. Here we go.
Love it. Beautiful, Brandon. I love it. Beautiful. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you so much, Brandon and Rachel, for being here with us. Everybody at home, if you want to learn more, check out RachelFiori24.com and AmericanCongressParty.com, and you will get to dive deeper into all the policies and everything and how to support, volunteer, donate, elect, and all of that beautiful stuff. And please like, share, subscribe. It helps us do this podcast for free. And thank you guys so much for being here. What a powerful episode. And until next time, we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye, everybody.